What if the reason you keep burning out isn't because you lack discipline, but because you've been too hard on yourself? So many people start building habits with good intentions, only to end up exhausted, frustrated, and disappointed. We're taught that growth requires pushing harder, waking earlier, doing more, and never slowing down. But real change doesn't come from pressure. It comes from alignment. Habits are not meant to punish you into becoming better. They are meant to support the life you are trying to build. Burnout rarely comes from effort itself. It comes from the constant pressure we place on ourselves to perform, improve, and prove our worth without pause. When effort is driven by fear, comparison, or unrealistic expectations, even small tasks begin to feel heavy. Over time, this pressure accumulates and turns growth into exhaustion. People often mistake this exhaustion as a lack of discipline, when in reality, it is the body and mind asking for a different approach. Effort that is aligned with care feels sustainable. It allows room for rest, flexibility, and adjustment. Pressure, on the other hand, demands perfection and speed. It leaves no space for mistakes or recovery. When every habit is built on force, the nervous system remains in a constant state of stress, and burnout becomes inevitable. This is why people can work hard at something they love and feel energized, yet feel drained by routines meant to improve them. True discipline is not about pushing relentlessly. It is about knowing when to slow down and when to move forward. With intention, when pressure is removed, effort becomes lighter and more honest. Growth begins to feel supportive rather than punishing. By replacing pressure with patience, habits can be built in a way that strengthens you instead of slowly wearing you down. Habits are meant to support your life, not compete with it or consume it. When habits are built without consideration for your energy, emotions, and responsibilities, they quickly become another source of stress. Many people design routines that look impressive on paper but feel exhausting in real life. When a habit begins to drain you more than it strengthens you, it stops being a tool for growth and starts becoming a burden. Supportive habits fit into your life rather than forcing your life to bend around them. They adapt as your circumstances change. They leave you feeling more stable, more capable, and more present instead of constantly behind or overwhelmed. A habit that truly serves you creates structure without rigidity and progress without pressure. It respects the fact that you are human, not a machine. When habits are aligned with your well-being, they become easier to maintain because they are rooted in care, not obligation. You no longer feel like you are constantly failing for missing a day or falling short of perfection. Instead, you feel encouraged to return gently and continue. The goal is not to do more, but to do what matters in a way that sustains you. Habits should make your life feel more balanced, not more crowded. Small. Gentle consistency often goes unnoticed, yet it is far more powerful than short bursts of intense effort. Many people believe that real change requires dramatic action, long hours, and constant intensity. While this approach may create quick results, it is rarely sustainable. Intensity demands a high emotional and physical cost, and once energy dips, progress usually collapses. Consistency, on the other hand, asks for less in the moment but gives more over time. Gentle consistency works because it respects your natural rhythms. It allows habits to fit into your life without overwhelming it. Showing up for a few minutes each day, even imperfectly, builds trust with yourself. That trust becomes the foundation for lasting change. You stop relying on motivation and start relying on identity, seeing yourself as someone who shows up, even when conditions are not perfect. Over time, small actions compound quietly. What once felt insignificant begins to reshape your mindset, your confidence, and your capacity. You realize that progress does not require exhaustion. It requires presence. When you choose consistency over intensity, you give yourself permission to grow at a pace that feels supportive rather than punishing. This approach not only prevents burnout, but also creates habits that can last for years instead of weeks. Asterisk rest and progress are often treated as opposites, but in reality, they depend on each other. Progress without rest leads to exhaustion, while rest without intention can lead to stagnation. When rest is integrated into growth, it becomes a source of strength rather than a pause from effort. True progress is not measured by how much you push yourself, but by how well you sustain your energy over time. Rest allows the mind and body to recover, reflect, and recalibrate. It creates space for clarity and prevents growth from turning into constant strain. When rest is ignored, even meaningful habits begin to feel heavy. Burnout does not come from doing too little. It comes from doing too much without recovery. Rest is not a reward you earn after exhaustion. It is a requirement for consistency. Progress that honors rest feels calmer and more grounded. It acknowledges that slowing down at times is part of moving forward. Taking breaks, adjusting expectations, and allowing yourself to pause does not mean you are falling behind. It means you are listening. When rest and progress work together, growth becomes sustainable, balanced, and human. This balance allows habits to support your life long-term, rather than demanding everything from you all at once. Sustainable habits are built on trust, not force. When change is driven by self-criticism or pressure, it creates resistance rather than commitment. You may comply for a while, but eventually the habit feels heavy and falls apart. Self-trust, on the other hand, creates a sense of safety. It allows you to believe that you will show up again, even if you miss a day or move more slowly than planned. Building self-trust means keeping small promises to yourself. It means choosing habits that you can return to without shame. When you trust yourself, consistency becomes natural, not forced. You stop seeing setbacks as failures and start seeing them as part of the process. This mindset removes fear from growth and replaces it with patience. Force demands perfection. Self-trust allows flexibility. It understands that life will interrupt routines and that energy will fluctuate. Instead of quitting when things are not perfect, you adapt and continue. Over time, this creates habits that feel supportive rather than restrictive. The strongest routines are not the most extreme ones, but the ones you can maintain with honesty and care. When habits are built through self-trust, they strengthen your relationship with yourself while quietly improving your life.